OK, now Qatar has just been re-elected to the UN Human Rights Council. This despite the fact Doha hosts and funds Hamas, propagates jihadist propaganda via its state-owned news channel Al Jazeera, and according to the US State Department, engages in the brutal repression of its own people via enforced disappearances and arbitrary arrests. Saudi Arabia missed out on a seat for the second time. Well, to talk more about that, we're joined by Hillel Neuer. He's the Executive Director of the group Human Rights Watch. Great to have you with us, Hillel. So this is for a sixth straight time Qatar's won a seat on the UN body which is responsible for promoting and protecting human rights globally. What do you make of it?
Look, sadly, the Human Rights Council, despite its noble origins back in 1946, founded by Eleanor Roosevelt, sadly, for the past several decades, it's been completely corrupted by dictatorships. It's turned into a travesty of justice. The members today, more than 60%, are either full-on dictatorships, serial human rights abusers, or other non-democracies. China, which oppresses 1/5 of humanity, denied any freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, is basically a permanent member. They're always on the Human Rights Council. The Cuban communist dictatorship, a police state that is holding hundreds of political prisoners, including many young people whose only crime was to speak out for democracy. Cuba is sitting on the Human Rights Council. Eritrea, a horrific regime. And, Qatar being re-elected, Qatar is a country that their credentials are oppressing women who have no basic human rights. They need a guardian. Qatar sponsors the Taliban, Hamas, and Al Jazeera, all of which spread jihadi terrorism. It's not accidental that they got elected. This is, you could say, the modus operandi of the council, having dictatorships as their judges and guardians on human rights.
And Hillel, a glimmer of good news, if you like. Czechia has also been re-elected to the same council. This is a country which has proven itself a strong ally in the fight against Iranian-backed terror.
Yeah, look, there's a glimmer of light. Sadly, the few decent democracies, because there are democracies that get elected, often they are weak. And to see a decent democracy elected is important. It just means that the moral minority might be a little stronger, those who might dissent from resolutions that enable legitimized dictatorships. Look, just a few weeks ago here in Geneva, I spoke inside the Human Rights Council and confronted one of their worst apologists. Her name is Alena Douhan. She's the UN expert against sanctions on dictatorships. So the Human Rights Council has a permanent monitor opposing sanctions on Iran, on Venezuela, on Qatar, or anytime a Western country imposes a sanction on a dictatorship, this woman, Alena Douhan, is their apologist. And we documented using UN reports that she received over $600,000 from Beijing, more than $100,000 from Russia. Her office received money from Qatar, in the same time as she made videos saying in Xinjiang, the Uyghurs are doing fine, they're happy, there's no problem with the Uyghurs. The only problem are American, Canadian, British sanctions on corporations that use slave labor to exploit the Uyghurs. So she is one of the main UN experts. The other one, of course, is Francesca Albanese, who openly supports Hamas, who says openly, in her view, that America is controlled by, quote, the Jewish lobby. So these are many of the UN Human Rights Council experts. Of course, there are a handful who are doing a good job, and there are a handful of resolutions that actually hold abusers to account, but these are the minority.
Yeah, and I encourage everyone to go and look that up online. Hillel Neuer taking on Alena Douhan at the UN Human Rights Council. It really is something. Hillel Neuer, Executive Director of United Nations Watch. Thank you. We appreciate it as always. Thank you.
Thank you.